Hi dear friends, this is Robert Hatton, this is The Encourager. Once more, I'm so glad that you join me today. We've come to about the middle of John's Gospel, but more than it being the middle dividing, one half into the other half, it's actually the turning point. Jesus takes his friends and they go back north. They were in Bethsaida. They were in the province called Trachonitis, which was the area that was ruled by Herod Philip, the Tetrarch. That means he was a quarter king, a would-be king. And he had built a city in the north, which they were heading to, a city that he called Caesarea Philippi. And Caesarea Philippi means Philip's Caesarea, and Caesarea, the city of the emperor. He built it to honor the Roman emperor and also to honor himself as well. He was always appeasing the Romans, and he wanted to be more Roman than what the Romans were. So this was a very Roman city, and it was actually on the trade route that came from Europe and went to Egypt. It was a real Gentile place. It was heathen, it was pagan, it was full of idolatry, and very close to the city. Today the city is only a pile of stones. It's ruins. There's hardly anything to see there, but there are some caves, and in front of the caves there is a lake, and a stream leaves the lake, and this used to be a place where people would come to worship their idols, and especially the idol, the Greek god of Pan. So Jesus came to a very, very, very heathen place, away from the influence of the Pharisees or anybody else, and he wanted to reveal something that he'd been keeping secret for all the time we've been looking at Mark's Gospel. It was this mystery about his person. Who is Jesus? And perhaps you remember that in many times when he had encounters with evil spirits, they shouted and they wanted to say something about the person of Jesus, and he would command them to be quiet and to hold their peace. And at other times when Jesus healed a person or something, he would tell them not to say anything, not to go and tell anybody about that. But of course, nearly always went out and they had to tell all the neighbors and friends and relatives about what had happened. And Jesus had to go into hiding, otherwise there were too many people with him. But now the time has changed. We've got half time, but also this turning point, because now Jesus was going to reveal who he is. Jesus wanted to just open up this mystery. And so he's taken his disciples away to this place where they're away from all the outside influences, and they began to speak. And of course, he knows the disciples have been thinking about this question of the person of Jesus since he met them. It's from one story to another. They've had greater questions. They've been asking themselves, who is this Jesus? What kind of a man is this? They said when he quietened the storm, and what were going through their heads when they saw him multiply the bread and the fishes twice for so many thousands of people. They saw so many healings and deliverances. And so Jesus comes to them, and he knows all this question has been in their hearts. They've been thinking about it. They've been wondering, who is he? Who is he? And the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5, the purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. So Jesus begins now to draw out what is in the heart of the disciples. And he begins with a discussion, and he asks them a number of questions. And he asks them, what are people saying about me? What do they say? Who am I? And so they start to give answers, and they say, some people say you are John the Baptist raised from the dead. Other people say you are Elijah, which is quite interesting, because in the book of Malachi, the Bible says John the Baptist will come, but he will come in the power and in the spirit of Elijah. Now, in other Gospels where this story is recorded, they also begin to say, yeah, well, others say you're Jeremiah, you're one of the other prophets. You know, there are many opinions. People are still trying to decide who you are. They're talking about this, but there's no one unified opinion. Oh, that's very interesting. And so as they're sharing and maybe telling one another about what they've heard here and what they've heard there, and why do people come to these conclusions, Jesus changes the question and he makes it very personal. And he said, okay, but who do you say that I am? Without really thinking, I don't know whether he thought, but he was very quick. Peter wasn't normally very quick, but in this situation, he was very quick. That's why I said maybe without thinking, he just blurted out, "You are the Messiah." In Matthew's Gospel, he elaborates. Matthew reports how this conversation was elaborated, because Peter says there, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus says to him that flesh and blood have not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. That is, Peter, you only know this through a divine revelation. And then he goes on to say, on this divine revelation, I'm going to build my church. A very powerful time in Matthew chapter 16. You are the Christ. You are the Messiah. What is important is, as we've been looking at this narrative of Jesus, as we've been looking at all the things he's done and going, looking day by day over the last few weeks about this Jesus, it's very important that I personally come to a decision about who is Jesus. And it's my prayer for you today, it's my prayer that you come to the conclusion, as Peter did, that Jesus is the Messiah. And if Jesus is the Messiah, then this has consequences for our lives, which we're going to see in days to come. I hope you have a good day today. God bless you, and I hope to see you again. Your Robert Hatton, your encourager.